Just give me another minute. I'll let the guests coming in now. Okay, good afternoon. The time now is 3:02 p.m. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the NUS CHS Open House 2022. Today, we have two speakers with us. The first speaker is Professor Henry Mott, who oversees the undergraduate matters. He is also the department deputy head. The other speaker with us is our alumni class of 2021, Ms. Teo Wei Yi. Our team of academic advisors are also with us today. So feel free to raise your question in the Q&A column below. So without further delay, I shall hand over to Professor Henry Mott. Please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this open house for the life sciences majors. So my name is Henry Mott. So I'm going to give you an introduction of what is the life sciences major in this College of Humanities of Sciences. Of course, we welcome you to ask any questions. Okay, after that, after our talk, we will have this Q&A session. So you can always type in your questions and then we will answer it. Or in the future, if you want to have any question after this open house, you can always email us at this particular address here, DBS Box 2. Now, so our life sciences major is what we call one major, 3 specializations, but with a very diverse disciplines. So let me give you an introduction first. Now, so if you look at our life sciences major, right, it's actually not just taught by our Department of Biological Sciences. Our department is the anchor department, but this whole life sciences major is also taught by the School of Medicine, including the Department of Anatomy, Biochemistry, Microbiology and Immunology, Pharmacology and Physiology. So you can see that totally we have more than 100 of staff to teach in this particular curriculum, and you will be exposed to different expertise. And if you look at the requirement, how many modules, how many courses you are going to read, before you will be graduate in this life sciences major. Now, so for your usual kind of workload, it will be 5 modules per semester or 10 modules per year. So that means for the total of 4 years, you are going to read 40 modules, and this will add together because each module is 4 modular credits. So totally you will need to read 160 modular credits or 160 MC, we call it an MC. And if you look at the our life sciences major, the one that you are required to read in the major, which start with the LSM, is only 15 modules, or 60 MC, which is about 30% of the whole module that you are going to read. Right? And then, of course, besides the life sciences major module, you will have what we call the common curriculum from our College of Humanities and Sciences. Every major will need to read this common curriculum, and that will have 13 modules you need to read, about 30%. And the rest will be what we call the unrestricted elective, or UE. That will be 12 modules or 48 MC that you are going to read. Right? Now, so if you look at our life sciences major, you are required, of course, in the first 2 years, you need to finish our LSM 1111, which is a gateway kind of module to our life sciences major, together with 5 level 2000, 4 level 2000 kinds of essential kinds of module within the first 2 years. But in the year 3 and year 4, what you will need will be only elective kinds of module. That means you choose what kinds of module you want to read in year 3 and year 4. Totally, you need to read about 8 to 9, these kinds of elective modules from year 2, from level 2000, 3000, and 4000. But most interestingly is what we call the research component. So that means either you need to do a UROP kind of like research project or what we call the Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program. That would be 1 semester or 2 semesters, depending on what you prefer. Or you can enroll to what we call the final year project or year-long project. Okay, that will count towards 8MC. Okay, so we will come into this final year project later on. But that is basically what you're going to read 15 of the module, which is in your major, all right, together with your common curriculum and the unrestricted elective, right? And so maybe I'll just give you some introduction of the gateway kind of like module, because everyone need to read it when they come to life sciences major. So we actually try to describe what are the challenges or biological challenges to humankind and what will be our opportunity on these kinds of like questions. So we can ask questions about the origin of life and how complexity of the life. And we are facing a lot of the challenges, like for example, climate changes, food shortage, and like how we are going to solve these kinds of like questions. For example, can we use some changes in the genetics, okay, in the farming? Okay, and we are always faced with different kinds of like pandemic and disease. How are we going to solve these kinds of like disease kinds of like issue? And of course, finally, we also have like human aging. So this you can see that is kind of like going through all the basic kinds of like questions about like biology, and then we will try to look at it. All right. Now, so if you go to a study plan, okay, of a usual basic kinds of like student from year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4. Now, so remember that in year 1, so you can see that most of your time will be used to read this kinds of like common curriculum, kinds of like modules. But of course, it will be better for you to finish, okay, your life sciences gateway modules, okay, within the first year. You can either do it in the semester 1 or semester 2, so don't worry, okay. So don't think that you must do it in the semester 1, all right. And while going to the year 2, you will continue to read, okay, the rest of the common curriculum. So totally, you will need to read about like 10 of them, okay, 6 and 10 of them in the first 2 years. Okay, and then in year 2, you will also need to start to read this kind of like essential modules, which involve molecular genetics, evolution, fundamental biochemistry, and of course, laboratory technique in life sciences, right? And then go to year 3, you can see that, of course, you need to finish the remaining interdisciplinary module in the common curriculum and the community modules, but the rest all of them will be like the year 3 or year 4 kinds of like elective modules. Of course, you will also have this, what we call the unrestricted elective modules, okay, that you can finish. So totally, that will be like 40 kinds of like module you need to complete in this 4 year. And so, of course, I mean, if you choose to do the UROP, you can always do this in year 3, okay? So that will be counting towards your compulsory research kinds of like experience. But of course, you can also do this, what we call the Life Sciences Research Project, RSM 4288, which will be 1 year, 8MC, kind of like a year-long research project, right? And of course, I mean, then the student will ask, okay, I mean, if I heard that there are like 3 different specializations. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, we actually have like 3 different specializations, which is optional. So that means you can still graduate our life sciences major without having any kind of like specialization. But if you choose to have one of the specialization, you will need to do a research project within that, with a final year project within that specialization, as well as a additional kind of like 3 module, right, in that particular specialization using your UE spaces. Right. Now, totally, we have like 3 different specializations. We have a Biomedical Sciences specialization, BMS. We have a Molecular and Cell Biology specialization, MCB, or we have a Ecology, Evolution, and Biodiversity, or EEB specialization. All right. So basically, this is like what we are offering. All right. And of course, I mean, we will also offer our life sciences major as a second major or a minor to all NUS undergraduate students. A second major means that you only need to read 10 modules, okay, in the other majors, and a minor is only 5 modules compared to the major, a primary major, which is like 15 modules. Now, so that means depending on what kind of module you choose in your elective module, you will end up with like different kinds of like focus area, right? So we are actually having like many different kinds of like module for you to choose from. And so that means, for example, even within the biomedical sciences kinds of like specialization, if you choose to read module that are related to, for example, fundamental pharmacology, genetic medicine, cancer pharmacology, and drug discovery and clinical trial, you are basically focusing on a pharmacology kind of like what we call the roadmaps, okay? But of course, another student also from this BMS specialization, but if he is more interested in human physiology, he can choose to actually read more modules on metabolism and regulation, right? Extreme physiology, aging, and also human anatomy. That means that he will be focusing more on this human physiology in this kind of like roadmap. Okay. Of course, there are also some other kinds of like roadmaps that you can choose. For example, neurobiology, infectious disease. So all these four is actually in the biomedical sciences specialization. Right? But you can also choose to read another specialization, right? For example, I want to know more about molecular and cell biology. Now, in these cases, you can focus on different kinds of like modules. For example, cell and developmental biology, right? Or you can focus on biophysical sciences, depending on what kinds of module you choose, okay, in your elective modules or pan sciences. Of course, finally, we also have this EEB specialization. So you can actually focus on either ecology and biodiversity or evolution and behavior. Now, so let me give you some example of like what happened to two students, okay? Now, both of them are in this MCB specialization, okay? But one student is interested, okay, more in cell and developmental biology. So that means after he finished his gateway module, then he read the essential modules. But starting from year 2 and year 3, so you can see that he chose cell biology in year 2, right? And then level 3, he read these 4 modules in metabolism and regulation, developmental biology, and also molecular biotechnology. And then level 4,000, he focused on stem cell, advanced cell biology, and tumor biology, all right? And since he wants to get a specialization in MCB, he need to do a final year project, all right, in year 4. All right, and 3 additional kinds of like level 4,000 modules or 3,000 modules in the MCB specialization using the UE spaces. All right, so in this case, as you can see that he will be able to get a MCB specialization, and he will also focus on this kinds of cell and development roadmap. Okay, but another student also in the MCB specialization, but now this student is more interested in biophysical sciences. So you can see he read the same kinds of like essential and gateway module as the other student, but now he chose a physical concept in biology. Okay, year 3 elective, he chose bioinformatics, protein structure and function, genome data analysis, right? And year 4 he chose like structural biology, protein engineering. So as a result, he will also need to do a final year project for the specialization. Right? And then 3 additional kinds of like module in that particular MCB specialization. So finally, you can see that although this student also has the same kinds of like specialization as the previous student, but he is actually focusing more on biophysical sciences. Now, so we actually have a fairly good mix of all the different kinds of like module for you to choose from. So it's not limited to just like the roadmap I showed you. Actually, you can tailor to your own roadmap, okay, depending on what you are interested, okay? Now, then you will ask, okay, although our life sciences major, okay, is only like 15 module, right? Like what I said, you also have like 12 module, okay, or 48 MC, which is what we call the unrestricted elective, okay? Unrestricted elective allow you to do whatever you want, all right? Now, so in these cases, usually our student will choose, for example, they can read a second major. What we call a second major is that instead of like 15 module, okay, a second major means that they only need to read 10 modules, okay, from another major, and then they will be able to graduate with a double major. Right? Now, of course, I mean, this second major can be anything, okay? A student can choose like reading, for example, physics chem, okay? Psychology is a very, popular kind of like what we call the second major. And we also have this one of like management, okay? Kind of like modules or second major. And all these are available for direct admission, okay? But you can always declare your second major later on. So that means you don't need to declare okay, whether you want to do a second major or what kinds of second major you want to do when you are admitted. So everyone will go into the CHS first, okay? So you just need to find out what is your primary major, okay? So you can always declare your second major later on, okay, before the 5th semester. The same is also for specialization. You don't need to worry that, okay, I need to declare what kinds of specialization I need to go to, okay? You can always, because remember the specialization is decided by what kinds of like final year project you are doing, right? So you can always do this later on. Okay, so you don't need to be so worried about like which specialization I should go to or whether I should do a second major or not. Okay, so you can always have time to think about it first. Okay, of course, I mean, if you don't want to do a 10 modules, okay, to do a second major, you can always choose a minor. Minor is only 5 modules. Okay, so that means you can actually have enough space to do 2 minor. Okay, if you want. Okay, for example, you can actually have a minor. We have minor in bioinformatics, forensic sciences, aquatic ecology, okay, pharmaceutical sciences, and the more popular one will be the public health kinds of like minor. Okay, so all these are very feasible kinds of like combination, okay, for you to do. And of course, I mean, our student may also be thinking of like they may not be interested in like further study, okay, in the future. They want to get more job experience, okay, after they graduate. Now, in this case, we also have this what we call the Undergraduate Professional Internship Program, or what we call the UPIP, right? Now, this UPIP kind of like program allow a student to go into a company or like a hospital or like a factory or even like a different kinds of like sector, okay, in the outside world to do an internship, okay, for 1 semester, either in the regular semester or they can do it in the special term, okay, and this will count towards the modular credit as well. So that means you can also use your UE spaces, unrestricted elective spaces, to do the UPIP kinds of like project to gain some career or get some kinds of like job experience. Okay, so if you want to find out more about this UPIP program, you can visit our Faculty of Sciences website, okay, and go into this link or email them in this particular address. Okay, so they will be able to tell you how to get this project to be like approved as a UPIP project and how to get the credit, okay, out of this UPIP project. And of course, I mean, many of our students always want to embark in this what we call the overseas experience. Okay, so we have this student exchange program, or what we call the SEP. So this SEP program allow our students to go overseas into our partner university. So we have more than 100 of this partner university for student exchange around the world. Okay, a student will be able to spend 1 whole semester, okay, there reading like, for example, 4 to 5 modules, and they can map to a maximum of 20 modular credit. So that means equivalent to like 5 modules, okay, back into NUS, okay, and without worrying about the grade. So that means only the credit will be mapped, okay, but without worrying about the grade, because the grade will not be taken into account. Okay, and the student only need to pay tuition fee to NUS. So that means instead of paying like expensive tuition fee to the partner university, it's still the NUS kind of like tuition fee. All right, so what you need to worry is just like the living expenses and the flight ticket. All right, and actually more than 80% of our students will have has this kind of like overseas exposure during their 4 year of like candidature. So again, if you have like more questions about this one, you can always email, okay, this SER-SAP study abroad program kind of like email address, or you can always email us, okay, if you want to know more about this SEP program. Of course, some students are actually more dedicated to overseas kinds of like study. So instead of just gaining the student exchange program, which is only 1 semester, many of them actually want to have more extensive kinds of like overseas exposure. So we also provide this kinds of like experience, kinds of like to our students. So we have a joint degree program. Joint degree, so that means when you graduate, you'll get a BSc honor degree, but that will be like conferred by both NUS and the University of Dundee, okay, in these cases. Right? Now, so what a student need to do is that, first of all, they will spend 2.5 years, okay, in NUS. So that means about like year 1, year 2, and then half of year 3 okay, semester 1 in NUS, and then at the start of like semester 2 of year 3, they will move to Dundee, okay, and they will stay there for 1.5 years. So that means they will complete the 6th to the 8th of semester in University of Dundee to read their module and also to do their final year project, okay, with University of Dundee. So University of Dundee is a very high-ranking kind of like university in Scotland and also in England in terms of like the biomedical research. Okay, so they also have a very good kind of like drug center, okay, drug design center. So as a result, we actually provide 3 different kinds of like focus for this kind of like joint degree program. They are drug design and discovery, environmental biology, and also plant sciences. Okay, so we have a set of like study plan for all these 3 different kinds of like focuses, and then we will actually recommend the module that students should read, okay, before they go over to Dundee. Okay, and they will also choose the different kinds of like project in this like 3 different kinds of like area. Okay, so this one actually now we are actually calling the application, okay, for our students. So that means when you come into year 1, you don't need to declare, okay, it's that early that you want to go into this joint degree program. We will actually call for the application about at the start of about this time of the year. Okay, so that means about like at the middle of your semester 2 in the first year, then we will call for this kind of like application. Okay, and then you will need to submit, okay, your CV and also your personal statement, and then we will do an interview, okay, with you, okay, to decide whether you should you can go into this particular program or not. Okay, now each year we have about 15 quota, okay, for our student to go into this joint degree program. So if you are interested, please contact us, okay, or when we call for the application, then you can just submit your application. Okay, so same as also for more kinds of like overseas exposure. That is what we call the Concurrent Db Program. Okay, now so this one is with University of Melbourne, and it is actually a NUS BSc honor degree together with a DVM or Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, okay, with the University of Melbourne. Okay, now so in these particular cases, a student will spend the first 2.5 years, okay, in NUS, and then 4 years in Melbourne. Okay, now the first year in Melbourne is actually what we call the overlapping year with NUS. So that means the module that you read in the first year and the credit will also go back into your NUS kind of like degree. Okay, they will affect your CAP. Okay, the same is also for the joint degree program. The joint degree program with Dundee will also count towards the credit and also the grade. Okay, so that will change or affect your CAP. Okay, now the good thing of this kind of like concurrent degree kind of like program is that we actually allow you are paying a discounted kind of like a tuition fee in the first year or in the overlapping year. So totally you can have like more than 20,000 Australian dollar to be saved. Okay, if you instead of like you finish your BSc here and then you go over there to the Melbourne to do the DVM program. So it's kind of like a concurrent program. So that means after you finish 2.5 years, you go over to Melbourne to do 4 years to complete totally in 6.5 years with both the BSc honor and the DVM kind of like degree. Okay, so then many students will always ask, okay, what kind of like work I can do, okay, after I finish my life sciences major. Okay, now so here I'm just like showing you some of the example, but I'm telling you that the opportunity is unlimited. Okay, it really depends on just like on your imagination or what kinds of like module, okay, you choose. Okay, and you can see that some of the job may not be even related to life sciences. Okay, now so of course, I mean most of our students they will continue after they finish their major. Okay, BSc on a kind of like degree, they will continue with a further research, okay, either locally or like overseas. Many of them will also go into the education kind of like sector, okay, becoming a teacher, right? And of course, because life sciences is highly related to like biomedical sciences, many of our students will also choose a healthcare kind of like area, right? Like for example, in the hospital or in some of the pharmaceutical company, right? Or in clinic as well. Right, but you can also see that there are also many kinds of like job opportunity in many different areas, like for example, management, administration, right, consultancy, or business management. Because remember that if you actually do a second major, right, in management, you can actually have this kinds of like both the skills, okay, in life sciences as well as in management. Right. So we actually have many kinds of like area, okay, for you to work on. And here is just like some of the like footprints of our alumni, right? For example, educator, right? So you can see and Tang Wei, right? For example, Tang Wei is actually one of our alumni. Now he is actually an assistant professor, okay, in our department, teaching like ecology, right? And for example, you can also see many of our alumni go into like entrepreneur, healthcare, social enterprise, as well as in the policy making kinds of like area. Right, so this is just some of the example, right? So probably I would just like end here. So if you have like any kinds of like question, actually you can find all our study plans and like road maps and everything in our life sciences kinds of like web page here. Okay, DBS, NUS, EDUSG in the education. Just go to the life sciences, and of course now if you have any questions, you can also put it into the Q&A session after our next speaker. Right, and you can always email us, okay, if you have like further questions, right? So now I would just like introduce our second speaker, which is Ms. Chiu Wei Yi. She is our former president of the Life Sciences Society. So she is going to share, okay, with you some of like what you are going to experience, okay, in this life sciences major. Okay, Wei Yi, yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Mark, for the insightful sharing. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Wei Yi, and I graduated from NUS Life Sciences in 2021. So before I start my sharing, I would like to thank DBS for inviting me and for the prospective students who are here today to find out more about NUS Life Sciences. I'll be speaking about my NUS experience and will share some useful links along the way. In the final slide of this presentation, I will show a compact list of the links I have used. So I hope that this sharing will be beneficial to you. So I'll split today's session into two main parts. I will first share about the academic and professional opportunities that NUS CHS has to offer. Next, I will talk about student life in NUS. So I'll first share about my education in NUS, as well as the research and internship opportunities that are available. So what I like about NUS is that the curriculum is pretty flexible, and that allows me to explore my interests through the different modules that are available. Besides the required life sciences modules, which make up the bulk of the curriculum, we are also required to take unrestricted electives, which can include non-life sciences modules, as mentioned by Prof. Mark just now. Hence, I took the chance to explore many areas like chemistry, medical physics, public health, and psychology before choosing a certain major or minor. In the end, I settled on public health as I feel that it complements the life sciences major well. To me, life sciences focuses on the micro aspects, such as the biological pathways on the cellular level, while public health allows me to look at a bigger picture. For example, how education and social demographic factors may impact the health of an individual. So for more information about the degree requirements as a life sciences student, you may check out the link below. So it will be similar to what Prof. Mark has talked about just now as well. So for aspiring researchers, the undergraduate research program opportunities in science, also known as UROCs, will give you a first-hand experience of what it is like to pursue a research career. So for me, I took both the UROCs and the one-year-long research project. So that gave me 2 years of research experience. So my project was based on the influence of genetic polymorphisms on atopic dermatitis. So in a nutshell, it involves studying the DNA sequences of individuals and looking at how these differences in the DNA sequences may alter the risk of disease. So to name a few hard skills that I have acquired, I learned techniques like bacteria and mammalian cell culture, as well as transfection. I also learned to analyze omics data, which are the data acquired from DNA and RNA sequencing. So even after I complete these projects, these skills will still be transferable between similar projects, such as those requiring the study of gene expression. So besides acquiring new techniques, I've also learned some valuable lessons during my UROCs and the one-year-long research project. So even though there are modules that require you to perform experiments in the lab, taking up a research project is different in the sense that you get to see a project from the start to the end. Furthermore, you will learn to optimize your own experiments and troubleshoot whenever a problem comes up. These are things that you will not experience in a typical lab module, since the experimental protocol has already been optimized for you. So taking UROCs has also exposed me to the rigor of research, and I have failed many times before I finally succeeded in my experiments. So learning to cope with failure has helped me not only in research, but in my life as well. It taught me to take a step back to assess what I can do better, to accept constructive criticisms, and most importantly, to embrace failure as an experience that helps me grow as a researcher and as a person. Lastly, I have also learned how to manage my time well, as I had to juggle between academics, research, CCAs, and my personal life. Though research requires a tremendous amount of time and effort, I believe that it is also important to maintain a work-life balance. So time away from work has allowed me to rest and recharge, and I believe that doing so helped me move further along with my research. I also had 2 internship experiences during my time in NUS. So my first internship was at House's Clinic, where healthcare is provided to the migrant workers at subsidized rates. During the internship, I was able to experience what it is like to work in a healthcare setting. I also learned about the lives of the migrant workers as a marginalized group in Singapore. After the COVID-19 surge in the migrant workers dormitory last year, I helped out at the post-COVID-19 recovery program, where we gave out basic necessities, as well as conducted various games and exercise sessions for the migrant workers who have just recovered from COVID-19. It reminded me about how fortunate and privileged I am, as well as the fact that I can therefore give back to society and help those who may not be as fortunate. In my second internship, I worked as a research assistant at NUS South Hawk School of Public Health. So this internship was credit-bearing under the public health minor that I took. I studied the health behavior of youth and learned to analyze the survey data that was collected, and finally helped to prepare a report to be submitted to the Health Promotion Board. So for those who may be interested in taking a second major in public health, they also have a compulsory internship module, and more information on this can be found on the School of Public Health's website. So I believe that NUS, my time in NUS is a period for us to explore our interests. So therefore, I took up opportunities in research and healthcare. And in the end, I decided to pursue research as I felt a greater passion for it. Though my research journey has been challenging, the satisfaction I get from solving the problems made it worth it for me. And that is how I realized that I will be happy doing research in the long term. So I will encourage you to make use of the many opportunities that NUS offers to explore your interests as well. After all, you'll only know what suits you after you have tried them out. So moving on to the second part of my sharing, student life made up a huge part of my NUS experience as well. I believe that it is important to spend time on hobbies or build up soft skills such as leadership and communication outside of the NUS academic curriculum. So I was the president of Life Sciences Society, where we organized welfare, academic, and volunteering events for the Life Sciences cohort. It was a valuable experience for me as I learned how to effectively lead, communicate, and manage my time. So we also organized orientation camps during the summer for freshmen. So you may follow our Instagram page for updates on the camp. During the school term, the society also organized sharing for UROCs, Yu-Keung, as well as student exchange programs and career talks. So these events will be posted on the main LSS Instagram page, as well as the Telegram channel. So I was also part of Voices, where I got to play music and learn from the extremely talented friends in the CCA. I also learned to overcome my stage fright and took part in planning the concerts as part of the expo. So if you would like to join CCAs in NUS, you can look up for the Student Life Fair organized by NUSU. The Student Life Fair will showcase many of the CCAs available, ranging from student clubs to performing arts to sports. So finally, I'm also a cheerleader, and I'm still cheering after I started work. Similar to why I joined my other CCAs, I cheer because it is a good mental break from work, and I find myself to be more clear-minded at work the next day. The friends that I have made in my CCAs were great support for me throughout my university life and even till now. Lastly, just like research, cheer also taught me to stand up again every time I fail. So with that, I've come to the end of my sharing, and the links that I shared are in this slide, and you can take a picture for your reference. So I hope this sharing has been useful for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wei Yi. Yeah. So now I think we can start to answer some of the questions that our attendants actually have asked. Maybe I just answer one of the questions. Actually, many of them is already answered, but I'll just answer some of the open questions. Okay. So one of the students is asking, can I ask about what is the ratio of the number of applicants to acceptance for the joint degree program with University of Dundee, and also what criteria are being used to judge applicants' suitability apart from CAP and grades. So let me tell you that actually each year we have like 15, okay, total. So that means totally we can actually send 15 students over to Dundee. But each round we actually didn't actually accept like enough number of like students over there, right? So you can see that from the previous 1 or 2 years, we probably send about like 3 or 5 students over to Dundee. So that means basically we actually have like enough more quota, okay, than the number of like the applications. Okay, so if you are really interested in like doing, especially you are interested in doing a research overseas in the future, then you are highly encouraged to apply to this particular program. Now, so we are not just looking at the CAP or the grades. We're also looking at like what kinds of like research experience that you have previously, okay, either in, for example, in your junior college, okay, or in your like in the SLP kinds of like program, okay. So because those are related to like or whether you have done a Europe, okay, in NUS, okay, or you're planning to do a Europe, okay, in NUS, okay, things like that, okay, will also affect whether you will be selected, okay, or shortlisted for this program, okay, because when you move to Dundee, you are required to do research, a full year of research project, right? So it's better for you to have some research experience, okay, in advance. But I can just tell you that we actually have more quota available, okay, for this joint degree program, okay.
Henry?
Yes.
Maybe I could, because there were a lot of questions on potential career, what do I do with life sciences?
Yeah.
Maybe if Stephen, you could let me share screen and then I just show you some things that we do in NUS. In the Faculty of Science and also in every one of the student club and societies, the one that Wei Yi was chairperson of was the Life Science Society, right? And the Life Science Society always works with the faculty every year to sort of promote what kind of industries and jobs, and they usually invite speakers from the industry. So if I were to share screen, I hope you can see the screen. Yeah, this is a whole series of newsletters that were shared to all the students, right? And the Life Science Society students in particular, for example, right? And in the last year, 2021, they issued more than 20 different newsletters on jobs. And actually, if you were to do a count, there were more than 335 unique employers. When I say unique employers, means I'm talking about companies, yeah, the different types of companies which offered positions that life science students could apply to, right? And these are just some of them. I don't want to list them all because there are just many. But when you come into NUS, this is what the students do for themselves as well. And the faculty will also have all our contacts and engagement. These are some of them, but maybe it will be useful if I break them down into the kinds of position. And you can see there were about 1,200 positions that were open for students, including the life science students, to apply from. Obviously, the industry that wants our students are mostly the pharmaceutical, biomedical, health sciences. Yeah, this will make up the largest number of positions that were open last year. But of course, the second one comes in with the public sector, for example, right? Public sector means, you know, in NPARTS, in the government, in all, in health science authority, in forensics and things like that, or even in the police, the armed forces and things like that, right? So the number two is usually the public. And of course, there are other companies and financial service may not even be related to the life sciences, but they are open to the science graduates because of the analytical skills. And sometimes they are also interested because you have some domain knowledge that may be useful for them if they want to go into, say, the agri-tech sector in consulting and so forth, right? So you can see these are the diverse areas, and these are just what have been advertised to our students when they were graduating with the help of our student society. What are the kinds of job function? Well, if you talk about job function, there are also many. Some of them like to be in the lab and do R&D, others do data management, others probably do administrative work, yeah, operational work, and many more. You can see the diverse nature of this. And lastly, just to give you a few examples of actual jobs that our students have gone to, people who work in places like the hospitals, the pharma, the government agencies, some biomedical types of companies, even DSO laboratories, government agencies, again, even the banks, you can see relating to the environmental, social governance, ESG policies, yeah, because our environmental biologists are actually very in tune to all these things and many more. So it's really your areas that you want to go into, all right, so, that you may want to consider. So let me just stop sharing this and then and I can let the rest of the people discuss the questions and answers again. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so now I'm just like typing quite a lot of the questions. Okay, so one of the questions that I'm actually answering now is that because some students were actually admitted through what we call the attitude-based admission, right? Because, for example, if their score doesn't make to the admission, so they will need to go through this interview, okay, or what we call the aptitude-based interview, okay, before they will be accepted into NUS or this life sciences major. Then how can you actually demonstrate, okay, your interest during the courses, right? For example, okay, one of the common questions that we always ask is that, I mean, is there any kind of like topics, okay, in biology or in life sciences that you are most familiar with, okay? Or can you answer some of the basic kinds of like questions about some of the biology kinds of like knowledge? Okay, so these are the things that we will ask, okay, during the interview. Okay, of course, some of the students actually, maybe they are actually doing the NS, okay, and they are actually forgetting everything already. So, and of course, I mean, this one is not good, right? So that means you should actually keep on like reviewing, okay, what is like the topics, okay, in biology that you have studied before, right? Or tell us like what is like your interest, why you are interested, okay, which topic you are most interested, right, in this kind of like area. Okay, or anything, for example, if you have read a book, okay, related to life sciences, okay, or any news related to life sciences, you can always let us know. Okay, so I think these are the things that we will ask during the aptitude-based interview or the exam, right? So if you want to get through this one, then you should prepare yourself for this area. Don't just come in saying that I don't know anything about biology or I cannot answer your questions. Okay. So that is not very good. Okay, so that means you need to prepare yourself. Okay, so don't come in just like you are like attending like any kind of like interview. Okay, and of course, I mean, you can always tell us like what is like your job aspect. Okay, why you want to study, okay, life sciences, etc. etc. Okay, so okay, maybe the next question, maybe I'll just answer live. Okay, what is the difference between taking life sciences as a fresh major and taking it as a second major. Okay, now so if you take it as a first major or your primary major, then of course you need to read, like what I'm telling you, right? I told you before, you need to read 15 modules, right? In our life sciences major. If you're doing it as a second major, you only need to read 10 modules. So that is like much less compared to the first major, right? And of course, I mean, in addition, you can also see that, of course, I mean, if you read as a second major, then that means you also need to have another your primary major as well. So it's mainly just like the number of the module that you are going to read, right? And of course, I mean, the final year project will also be like, should be in your primary major, but it's not in your second kind of like major. Okay. Okay, so another question, okay? So if my top, so this one, mother tongue language literature in A level and did very well and apply for CHS in first choice, I will have a bonus point of 2.5 plus 2 equal to 4.5, right? And does this mean that I have to read my mother tongue language as my degree? Or does this mean I can do my life sciences major, but just that I take 7 modules in my mother tongue language under restricted elective? Maybe 14, maybe you can tell.
Hi, okay. I think this person is asking a very specific question. If you are coming in with the normal bonus points because you put your first choice in NUS, that's anybody who does that gets a bonus point, I think. But this one is referring to the mother tongue language applications. Those who come in through that, probably the understanding is that you want to pursue your mother tongue as part of your admission or your degree. But if you do that and you want to also take life science as a second major or a second degree, that is still possible as long as you are part of CHS. In other words, as long as you're part of CHS, anybody can take a second major in life sciences. But if you are admitted specifically because of the mother tongue one, then you should be taking that. But that doesn't stop you from taking your second degree in life sciences. Okay. There are a lot of also questions on the skills that you need for preparing you for the workforce apart from the knowledge. And I think Yu-Keung is trying to answer that online. But maybe let me just mention that when you come to the university, when you come to NUS, it is not about just studying. Wei Yi has very nicely put it forth to you that you come here for the next 3-4 years, you are basically exposing yourself to opportunities. Of course, we will prepare you for opportunities that are including residential living, internships, things like research projects, Europes, overseas exposure and things like that. But all these are just programs, right? And then within each of these programs, we will also, and in fact, even within each of the module, if you will go to, if you were to go to the life science website in particular, yeah. Let me see if okay. If I were to share screen, and in the screen, if you were to see, this is the life science website. Under the life science website, you can even go in to see these individual modules and what the modules are. And in that list of documents, you will find that every single module has got a certain skill set that they want to emphasize. Say, okay, particular lab skill based module, they want to emphasize the lab skills. Those that are higher level, they want to emphasize maybe presentations and so forth. So those are all listed. But what I want to mention is that for many of these things, for many of these things, you go through the experience and the internship, and from those experience in the internship, or in the experience in the lab, you will build your skill sets as you move along. So we supervise a lot of students who are on internship right now, and halfway through their internship, we always ask them, maybe they're doing some work with a company on clinical trials. And over the time that they're working in the clinical trial company, we then ask them, you know, where do you think your gaps are when you are there? Identify them. And those gaps could be maybe soft skills or even hard skills where you are not familiar with a certain disease type or work, or the processes in managing a clinical trial. So those are the things that you will identify as you go and realize that you need to build up on these things. And that's how the university works, basically. Okay.
Okay, so actually there's another question, okay, in the chat box. Okay, maybe I'll just try to answer the one in the chat box. So I think it's actually on average, how many students apply for the CDP for DVM program, okay, and how many are accepted. So like what I told you before, is actually like we have like 10 quota, right, for this particular program, like every year. But every year we have more than 30 application. So you're talking about like 30% of acceptance kind of like rate. Okay. Okay. So then let me go back to let's go back to the Q&A. Okay. Okay. Another. This is the question. Maybe I can just answer live. Okay. Will not having job internship that are life sciences related put me at a disadvantage for normal admission or ABA? Now, so it really depends on what kind of like job you are looking at. Okay, of course, I can tell you that actually most of the employer will view this internship, okay, as an advantage if you go into like to their company, right? And especially if you are actually doing this particular internship in their company or in that area that is related to the job that you are going to do. Right? But it doesn't mean that if you don't have this internship experience, you won't be able to get into this particular company. Okay. So, and of course, at the same time, okay, many of our students, they are actually planning to do this future study, right, in research. In these cases, they may not necessarily to have an internship, but rather they would like to have a undergraduate research opportunity program instead. Right, because the research experience is actually more important in these particular cases rather than internship experience. Okay, so really depends on like whether you, what kind of like job you are going to choose in the future. Okay, it doesn't mean that you must do an internship or you must do a UWork. Okay. Okay, what is like the rigor of computing work in life sciences? For what I have heard, students need to do at least or to learn some RO for major, but how intense is the programming work? Okay, yeah, I think Wei is trying to type an answer, but I can tell you that we have computing, actually under the CHS, okay, we have this common curriculum. Everyone, okay, you will need to go through this like digital literacy and also data literacy, right, as well as like artificial intelligence. So this one is like the basics that you need to do, right? Common curriculum, and in addition, you also need to do a what we call the computational thinking, okay, kind of like module, okay. This is just a requirement in the whole university, okay. So we actually have a new module called the computational thinking for life sciences, okay. In that case, you will have some of the RO, okay. This is a program that you learn. Okay, that will be especially useful, okay, for your like statistics and also like for the ecology kinds of like study. But what I can tell you that is that we also have other kinds of like computational thinking kinds of like modules that are available, okay, from the other kinds of like major, for example, from physics or from School of Computing. Okay, so those will be like so that means you don't necessarily you must take this computational for life sciences. There is actually a whole list of like computational thinking kinds of like module for you to choose from. Okay, so you can actually depending on your computational background, okay, then you can choose the available one. Okay, of course, you will need to know a little bit of a computer. Okay.
So Henry, I see
Yes.
the question that was up there. Siva is typing to it. This
Okay.
is a question about comparing NTU's
Oh, okay.
biological science and NUS life
Sure.
sciences.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, we all should be very glad that we have two wonderful universities who are offering this area and this field. It's the same that, we have two wonderful universities, very world-class universities that give students the option to take one or the other. I think if in the main session, when we talk about CHS, some people ask almost a similar question with regards to what is the difference between the common curriculum here and the common curriculum, say, in NTU or SMU and all that. Well, the answer for us is that is actually we are all basically very good universities and very good programs. Our colleagues in NTU are also just as good, I would think. And obviously, if you ask us in NUS, we would love for you to come to NUS, definitely, because we think we will offer you a great experience. I'm also very confident my colleagues in NTU will offer all of you great experience too. So we are blessed and we are thankful that in Singapore alone, we have outstanding program in both of this. Yeah. So I would say the choice is not so much in these programs, probably. Maybe sometimes it is to do with a very specific area that you want to work in, and maybe it's only found in NUS, then okay, come to NUS. But if there's an area that you just found them more interesting in NTU, that's also okay, go to NTU. And we do have a lot of people working across the two universities anyway, okay? So I don't think that is, you say it's a political question. No, I don't think so. It's more of what do you think will be good for you. And it's also not just the program, but it's also what about the rest of the university that makes this whole place a better or not, the residential, the opportunities, and the special programs that are available, okay? And then to take the next question, is it possible to double degree in life science and say engineering or biomedical engineering? Technically, yes, it can. You can either come through CHS and major in life science first, and then ask to elect to do a second degree in biomedical engineering. This is nowadays possible, but there is a selected quota, or you can do it the other way around, where you actually come in through CDE, the College of Design and Engineering, major in biomedical engineering, but then you choose to do a second degree or second major in life science. Both ways are possible, okay?
Okay. Yeah, so also another question is that physical concepts incorporated in life sciences as well. Okay, so this one maybe I can let you know, because like what I told you before, we actually show a study plan to you, right? Which is like related to a student doing biophysical sciences in the MCP specialization. Right? We actually have like module in like biology, in like physical concepts in biology. The title of the module is actually called Physical Concepts in Biology. Okay, and we also have a lot of other biophysics kinds of like module in level 3 and level 4000, for example, like protein structure and function. Right? We also have like biomolecular physics. Okay, so all these kinds of like module that are related to physics. And in the high level, we even have like structural biology kinds of like modules. Right? So I just let you know that if you are interested in physics, you can always come to life sciences as well. Okay, especially if you want to know how physics can be used in biology. Okay. Okay, so
Prof. Mark, maybe you can go first.
yeah, sure. Yeah. So, okay, just the next one. Okay, may I ask, would there be certain grades required to take a double major, second major, major minor, or is it available as long as we are admitted into? Yeah. So actually we don't have a, of course, I mean, you need to keep a minimum of like 3.0, is it correct, Futim? I think so, right? So that means you need to keep a very low, at least, okay, minimum kinds of like CAP of like 3.0, okay, before you can opt for this double major or like minor and things like that. But I don't think 3.0 is like what you are aiming for, right? So I think most of us, yeah.
And I think there is a continuation requirement and admission requirement. for those who want to do a double degree or a double degree, you probably have a continuation requirement of about 3.5, right? Our normal cap system is 5, 4, 2, 1. Yeah, of which if you want to get a double degree, it's 3.5. But you want to get a double major, there's no real restrictions to get a double major. Okay. Someone asked about the IGP again, and a lot of times the students are asking IGP. Now you can actually just search NUS IGP, which is the indicative grade profile. And there is no indicative grade profile for life sciences because you have to go and search under the College of Humanities and Sciences, right? And then you apply to life science by going into the College of Humanities and Sciences, and then go and click in Humanities and Sciences, right? So under the Humanities and Sciences, the IGP there is the same as all across the whole College of Humanities and Sciences.
Okay. So this one is answered by. Okay. So, okay, the next question is about the 10th and the 90th percentage for the representative grade profiles for life sciences. I think this one is published online, right? Every year we will publish this one. Yeah, so you can just search for this kinds of like 10th and 90th percentile, okay, for life sciences or for CHS in these particular cases, okay? Because remember, life sciences is actually within the CHS, okay? So you need to get into the CHS, and then you declare the major, whether you want to have life sciences, chemistry or physics or psychology, etc. Okay, so that means you are actually aiming for the CHS, not for the life sciences. Okay.
So maybe I can share screen again.
Okay.
Right. If I share screen and you go to the Google, you can just Google NUS IGP.
Yeah.
And the NUS IGP, you will find this document there. This is a PDF that is there. And this is the College of Humanities and Sciences. So you can see some of them, but for the people who want to do life sciences, you actually apply in your application, you apply under Humanities and Sciences. Okay. And therefore, if you want to look at the IGP, this is the IGP for the 90th percentile and the 10 percentile, ABB/B. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the next one is like, is there a lot of lab work and research involved? Okay, Silver Salty is trying to answer this question, but of course, actually you want to do more, okay, kinds of like lab work, okay, because that is actually the most interesting part, right, in biology. So we have practical, okay, starting from year 1 already, okay, because like even in the general biology kinds of like bridging module, we already have some of the practical in year 1, and then you have like fundamental biochemistry module, also have like many of the laboratory, and of course, in year 2, LSM 2191 is like main practical kinds of like module to give you or to teach you some of the basic kinds of like techniques, okay, in for example, how to do cloning, or how to do protein purification, okay, how to assay the activity of an enzyme, things like that, okay. And when you go to a high level like year 3 and year 4, of course, I mean, you can always opt for doing this kinds of like UROP project, okay, which is a whole semester, or even your final year project, that will be a whole year kinds of like project. And of course, individual module will also have their own practical as well, and also field trips as well. So you can see that because life sciences is actually what we call the kinds of like experimental kinds of like discipline, right? If you try to find out any of the answers by doing experiments, right? If you don't do experiment, how are you going to find out? And even your textbook knowledge is also come from experiments, right? So that's why, I mean, there's actually a lot of chances for you to do a lot of practicals and research, okay, in our life sciences major. Is there, okay, the question is like, is there any way to check if I am more interested in chemistry or life sciences? Okay, so that one you should ask yourself, right? So whether you are interested in chemistry or life sciences, I think this is like personal kinds of like preference, right? So it really depends on like your passions. So I would say always follow your heart. Okay, don't just look at like what kinds of job. Okay, I'm going to have. Okay, if I do chemistry or I'm doing life sciences, I would say with the one that you are most interested. Okay, that you are passionate about. And of course, chemistry and life sciences. I mean, you can always do, for example, do a double major, right? With life sciences and chemistry, then you can learn both. Why not, right? Or just a minor, right? So you can always do both of them. Yeah.
One way to try is, this
Yeah.
is what the NUS system is.
Mm.
You're not sure, come in, take the gateway modules for life science and also take the gateway modules for chemistry.
Yeah.
And then you find what you think you're interested in. And you can't yet decide, well, continue on and see which one you really like. And then after a while, you have a preference on one or the other. Okay, drop the other one if you want. Or if you are resilient enough to finish both, go ahead and do that. Students do that.
Okay. Next question. Will there be preliminary interview before acceptance? So I would say no. Okay. So if your UAS score is like higher, okay, than certain limit, then they will be like directly accept, right? So only for those marginal cases, then they will need to go through the aptitude-based interview or the admission for this ABA admission. Yeah.
There is a question about the application form. It says here, if I tick CHS, there's a series of questions on essay to complete. I think you may want to double check the form. Basically, it is mostly about if you are interested in the ABA. ABA stands for the aptitude-based admissions. Then you will probably have to write an essay and so forth. Or if you have clicked in that you're interested to be considered for scholarships and things like that, where you make the application there, then you also have to put in or answer that series of questions. Okay.
Okay.
So it looks like we have answered a lot of the questions, either by writing your answer briefly or by answering them live. But if there are others who want to have a question answered, you can quickly put them into the Q&A, and then we will try to answer them live straight away since we are waiting for one. I think the job prospect question has been answered already several times. And maybe if you have missed it, you may just want to see the recording again. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So the link will be so Stephen. So after this session, right? This session will be recorded and then it will be sent in the Facebook.
Yeah, it will be sent in the Facebook.
Yeah.
In fact, now it's live on the Facebook, so the questions are all answered there.
Okay, but I think we can also put this link into our departmental website.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone, if they want to look at, they can just go there.
I think the question will be put in later. Yeah.
Okay.
The other question is about ABA again. Yeah. ABA, there is no rule about you talking about life science alone. You can also highlight your achievements and what you think would be interesting. We're not just looking for people who, obviously one of the things, if you have nothing to say, we will ask whether you're interested or not. but really we are really interested about the people who are going to, we're going to evaluate whether you are someone who's going to bring something to the program, add value to the program as well, to the people, right? Maybe you are an interesting person who have a different perspective, or you've done something that is very unique that we'll be very keen to have you as part of the community. So really there's no rule about you must be interested to talk about your life science interest. But of course, if you're coming to major in life science, we would want to ask you whether is that something you are really interested in, or is just this something that you don't know what you want to do. But if you have even more interesting things to talk about, like, wow, you've done something unique. You volunteered somewhere that actually all of us will sit up and say, hey, this is an interesting person. We want to hear that. We want to hear about your life experiences that may be useful and encouraging for the others who are in the cohort as well. So there's no limitation to these things, okay?
Okay, maybe I'll answer another question. Is it that question is like, is it possible to change from second major life sciences to primary major life sciences? And if I'm more interested in the course after taking a few modules, yeah, it's possible. Okay, so that's the reason why we have this minor, second major, and major kind of like system, right? So I mean, if you are thinking that you may be interested in this thing, you can try a minor kind of like first, right? And then after that, if you add more modules, okay, into it, then you will be qualified to it as a second major or even a primary major, right? Depending on whether you can fulfill all the requirements in that particular major. So if you can fulfill, you can always be able to change it in from your second major to become your primary major, right? Yeah. Okay, so again, the differences in job prospect between biomedical engineering and life sciences, I would say they are quite related, right? So it depends on, I won't be able to answer you directly with this one. It really depends on like what you particularly looking or particularly interested in. I would say biomedical engineering is more related to the design of the devices and those kinds of like things. So that means they are more on, you require, maybe you need to know more about the engineering and mathematics, right? But life sciences is like more general kinds of like area. And I would say biomedical engineering is actually within the life sciences kind of like area, right? So it's very hard to say exactly like what do you mean by job, okay, prospect, okay? So it really depends on, don't think that you must be like doing, you must read this kind of like thing, okay, before you can this particular kind of like job, okay? It's not, I don't think that it's like a particular requirement that you must have this major, okay, before you can read this, because you can, you'll be selected for this particular job. So really it's depending on like what you view the job, okay? And the science is just to provide you a background, okay, for you to do this kind of like related jobs. Okay.
So Karine, I see you asked about the recording for the morning sessions again. Yes, the morning sessions will also be recorded or have been recorded, and you may go to the CHS website, the main website, the faculty CHS website, and it will probably be uploaded from there as well. All right. If you cannot find it, you can just drop a note into the mailbox called Ask CHS. Ask CHS, that's ASKCHS @nus.edu.sg. Okay. A lot of the other questions also were talking about, you know, does it require a lot of mathematics? Does it require a lot of lab? Does it require a lot of field work and so forth? The field in life science is very, very large. We encompass a lot of things. But obviously, all of us come from A-levels background, who many of us have some mathematics involved, right? And in many of our work, whether we do work in biomedical work or whether we do ecological work, there is some statistics and so forth. There are also, today you probably will do well if you know how to do some coding. So there is always advantage if you can handle the mathematics. But of course, it doesn't mean there is no place for people who don't really want to do the math intensive type of programs. There's always other areas that may not necessarily emphasize those. But of course, statistics, mathematics will be a mainstay still. And therefore, it is something that you probably cannot run away, but you can then choose those areas that you feel more comfortable with. But if you are very much into mathematics, then maybe do something like what Dr. Henry Mock or Prof. Mock here is doing. He's a computational structural biologist and very much does a lot of work that is mathematically inclined, or like what Wei Yi does. Wei Yi is doing a lot of public health work, right? And she is actually very good in her mathematical aspects and statistical aspects, right? So it is ranged bound, and there are many things you can do. You choose the ones that you're more comfortable to be fitting into. Okay.
Yeah, so another question is like, can I know more about the concurrent program? Okay, so this is actually introduced quite a couple of years already. So basically, a student will need to apply to this program, okay, during their year one, okay, and then we will like put them into this concurrent degree program. So they will just do a similar kind of like module as like most of the CHS students in the first 2.5 years, okay, and we will recommend a set of like module that is agreed with the Melbourne. Okay, so after this 2.5 years, then the student will move to if they can keep a CAP of like 4.0, okay, or above, and they will be able to move to this. Of course, they need to do some additional kinds of like aptitude kinds of like interview and things like that, and then they will be able to go to the Melbourne, okay, to do 4 years of DVM program. But during the 4 years, the first year is actually what we call overlapping year with NUS. So the module and also the grade that you read in first year will also be counted towards the CAP and your module credit in NUS. So after that, that means after 3.5 years, basically you are graduated from NUS with your BSc honor degree already. Okay, and then you need to complete the last 3 years in Melbourne, totally 6.5 years, okay, to complete this concurrent degree, which after that, then you will get both a BSc honor and also a DVM degree together. Okay, so this is kind of like a fast track kind of like program. So, and in the same time, you will also save some of the tuition fee because you are actually paying just the study abroad fee in this overlapping year. So that will actually save you a lot of money. Okay, and also in the last 3 years will be like you need to pay full fee to Melbourne. Okay, because you are already considered a graduate from NUS already. Okay. How do I apply? We will call for the application. So each year we will receive close to 30 kinds of like application, and we will select 10 students, okay, to be in this particular program. So the quota is like 10 quota, and we will do an interview, okay, with all the applicants, and then we will select based on like, for example, their experience in animal handling, and also like whether they have any previous kinds of like degree or clear kinds of like academic kinds of like knowledge in this veterinary medicine, things like that. Okay, so if you want to be succeed in this program, you should have already have some of the internship or some of the working experience, for example, with like animal clinic or with like animal shelter, things like that. Okay, so you need to put in everything that you have into a personal statement. Yeah. How much student do they take? Or you mean how many students, right? How many students is like what I said, 10 students, okay, from NUS each year. Yeah. So how much then you need to look at the particular program, okay? So they will let you know, what is like the tuition fee. But I will say that it's like close to like the saving about like 60,000 SG Singapore dollar, I say per year for full fee. But during the overlapping year, then that will be you have a saving of like close to 20,000 Australian dollar. Okay, but the detail you need to go back to look at the web page. Yeah.
Maybe Henry, I could let's add a caution here.
Yeah.
With regards to the concurrent degree with veterinary medicine,
Yes.
Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
There are many ways to go on to do a degree in veterinary medicine. Yeah. There are some that are just bachelor's degree, but very more common nowadays, veterinary medicine is now a graduate program, just like the one in Melbourne. Okay, so now the arrangement that we have is because Melbourne only recognize NUS. This is worldwide, yeah. Melbourne only recognize NUS for a concurrent degree. In other words, of course, they also recognize their own Melbourne bachelor's degree. So what they have done is they have just arranged with us for our students to have the opportunity to go into their Doctor of Veterinary Medicine program through this same channel as though you would have done in Melbourne itself. But even then, in Melbourne, there are people who go through their bachelor's first, finish it, then go through the DVM. That will be an 8 years program, 4 for bachelor's and 4 for DVM. That's the normal route. In Melbourne also, they have this concurrent for their own degree holders, and they only take in also a very small number, also about like 10, 15 like that, who goes through the special concurrent program. So this concurrent program is similar to just what the Melbourne program is with regards to the concurrentness, okay? If you didn't get into the concurrent degree program and you still want to do a veterinary medicine, you still can. You can just finish your degree and go into a program similar to the Melbourne, doesn't even have to be in Melbourne, right? And that you can then pursue on according to your interests. I also want to caution here that this arrangement is there are some savings because of the fact that you are studying in NUS, not in Melbourne. And secondly, because we arrange for the accelerated overlapping time. So these are the savings that you can have. But nevertheless, the moment you reach Melbourne to pursue your DVM, you will have to pay Melbourne fees. And you will have to be prepared for that kind of fees, okay? Because this is not a special program where we subsidize anything. No, we just provide you the pathway to shorten the time because Melbourne recognized only NUS to do this, okay?
For restricted minors, such as forensic, do I apply via admission or can I apply once it's admitted? I think both ways you can do it.
No, restricted minors, the term restricted minors means you apply after you come into NUS. And there are a couple of these restricted minors. These restricted minors includes the forensics minor, minor in nutrition, minor in pharmaceutical sciences. These are restricted because there is only a certain number of students which we will allow to go through this on an annual basis. Yeah. Therefore, you apply after you have gone in. And actually, this is not only open to CHS, it can be open to anyone across the whole university.
So any other questions? Stephen, you need to do a pooling, right? So
yes, that's right. Okay. Please not leave. We shall do a short polling. Can you all do the polling now? The question have been pressed on the screen.
Okay, while you are answering the questions that Stephen has put up on the poll, please feel free to answer those so that it will help us. There was a question on how is the intake for the forensic minor every year. This is a minor that is extremely popular. You will have to take the first module in forensic science. The first module in forensic science, however, is a very large module. You have about 400 or 500 people taking it every semester. But those who have taken that module, you can then elect or apply to take the minor and proceed on with the remaining classes. Now that number varies from year to year, depending on how many we've taken overall. Yeah. It can range from about 40 to 70 and so on, right? Because this is a very intense laboratory-based kind of a minor.
So Stephen, I think the pooling may not be done successfully. Maybe you can share again or. Okay, so another question just come up. Will I still be able to do a second major if I decide to do a specialization? Of course, yeah. So because our program is actually designed in this way that, of course, you will have enough spaces, right? You only need to have like 10 modules to do your second major. So even if you do a specialization, you just need to do additional of 3 modules using your UE spaces. So together, you will still be able to fit in into your second major nicely. Yeah.
I think the attendee is asking about if I want to specialize in life science, and if I specialize in life science, I will take some additional modules over and above, right? But at the same time, the attendee wants to take second major, which is about say 10 modules.
10 module.
So Dr. Mock's answer is correct. You can, but you may end up having to do more modules every semester, or if you didn't finish on time in the 4th year, you may need a little bit longer time to be able to do that. And that flexibility is still available.
We also have things called double counting as well. So that means later on maybe that means the module that we can actually encounter for both of the major and the second major. Okay, so but with certain of the second major, we actually have this kind of like double counting. But of course, I mean, if you want to do this, then you can also always overload yourself with like 1 or 2 modules, okay, or during the special term, things like that. Yeah.
Any more questions? This is the best time to ask the advisor.
So Stephen, is your pooling done okay?
Yeah, it looks like it's. I think it's okay now.
Okay, yeah, anyway.
Okay, so shall we end the?
Okay.
Okay. So thank you all for your time and attending this section today. We hope you enjoy the chit chat and also the communication. So we're looking forward to see all of you here again. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Good day.